Hey guys, I wanted to show you a geranium update. These are the geraniums I overwintered and they're doing so well. They've just come into bloom this week and they have a new friend here. This is a scarlet bullseye geranium and I just got that at Lowe's, so that's a beauty, but that one has kind of brownish purple leaves and I think it's really striking, and I've put it in a brown pot and I think it really suits it well. But I'm excited to have that one from the Bullseye series, and I think it'll coordinate well with my beautiful red geraniums. And my teeny tiny bunches of grapes are looking just adorable. Take a look at that, guys. I have no idea what variety it is because I planted it probably 3 or 4 years ago. It was just a start from Home Depot, but it's doing well and it's covered with all of these baby grapes. Aren't they wonderful? Can't wait to taste them. Got some gorgeous Sweet William here in this corner. This is a much sunnier corner than the back garden where I also have Sweet William. So they're very versatile, obviously, but they're looking gorgeous. This is a flower I just love. After complaining all these videos about my ranunculus not blooming, they are starting to produce some buds. I might try to cut this one because looking over here, it looks like something ate this bud off. So maybe they are producing and I just haven't seen them before they're eaten. Something around here is enjoying eating ranunculus buds. I've got some late blooming azalea. This azalea was here when we moved in about 28 years ago. I guess it's 28 years now, but it is gorgeous and it seems to bloom on the late side, but it's this bright scarlet. Just love it. This is a pretty little view, the way the pink garden is catching the sunlight. And my spider plants are looking pretty good. I love it when there's a little pocket of sunshine coming through the tree canopy in a woodland garden. Isn't that pretty, guys? It's one of the pretty things about having a woodland garden. Seeing pockets of sunshine make it through. My vegetable garden is doing great. I've got zucchini plants and pepper plants and one cushaw squash. I also have a yellow zucchini in here and chives along the front. Lots of tomatoes planted up in big pots. I think they'll do much better. The ground is so compact and I think tree roots get in the way of their growth, so I do much better when they're in containers. And I have had a few female zucchini flowers come out, but I'm not sure there have been any males to pollinate them. This one is looking kind of hopeful, so maybe someone else in the neighborhood's growing some zucchini, because you do need a male flower and a female flower to create a zucchini. And it looks like my royal burgundy purple green beans, I guess that's what they're called, they're like green beans, are putting out their flowers, so they should be covered with beans in a couple weeks. So I'm excited for that. All of my bunching onions have gone to flower, so they look really pretty. Tall white spikes. There's one at the end there looking very pretty. Over here, and I like to let them go to seed, and I put the seed back down into the soil and fresh ones grow. So it's a nice cyclical process. And then I think my chives might have gone to seed. Let's see if I can shake any seed out. Oh yeah, definitely there's seed in there. So I'm definitely going to save some of that chive seed. Hope you can see it. All you have to do is shake out a dried flower and all of that, those chive seeds come right out. I had an incredibly hard chore this week of taking tree roots out of these bins They have 3 large trees planted around them, and I made the mistake when I set them up of putting the holes in the bottom of the container. Well, this year I discovered that the tree roots grew up into the nice soil I had provided and filled up a couple of the bins. So all of them have been emptied. I put in new compost at the bottom, and I put the old soil back in, minus the roots, and I did it with those 2 gray ones in the back as well. But it was a huge chore, many hours, and I put down a weed barrier, which I hope will hold its own for a couple years, but every spring I'm going to have to check on that. So once I redid these bins, I planted them up pretty thickly with things, and we'll see what happens. As you can see, they're in a lot of shade. But I bought some fresh spices from Whole Foods, and I just popped those little segments down into the soil. We'll see if any of them root. Sometimes I have luck doing that. I'll buy it in the produce section, and it's almost like buying cuttings for a very cheap price. So I have sage around here. This was my basil plant that I grew from cuttings, and I just put that in there in between. And I had a parsley plant which I put in. And then I have some rosemary cuttings done the same way from the produce aisle. Just fresh cut herbs, and I just pop them in. Rosemary roots really well. So I have more rosemary cuttings in there. And I moved a couple of my Egyptian walking onions, which are, I think, walking. So we'll have to see if they create little bulblets at the end. Or bulbils, I'm not sure what they're called. But we'll see how that does. And I have more sage here. And it looks like my turnips, my snowball white turnips, didn't transplant so well. But that's okay, because they're kind of at the end of their season. And once it gets hot, they always go to seed. So those will be pulled soon, and it'll give me the opportunity to plant more things. And then here are my fresh kale seedlings that I replanted back in here. And in between those, I have some marigolds that I grew from seed that I planted out here. So we'll see how this all does. It should be very pretty if some of it takes. And hopefully everything's going to be growing a lot better now that I've emptied this entire section from tree roots. Unfortunately, it just doesn't get a lot of sun. So I think actually herbs are a good choice, and kale is a good choice, because kale doesn't actually like the summer heat. So being partly shaded, I think, will be good for the kale. And once I emptied the compost pile from back there, I removed it and made it into my Japanese maple seedling garden. So let me take you back there and show you what's going on. And I have some daylilies here, which always bloom every year, but that'll be later in the season. Let's take a look a little closer. I've got some evergreen cuttings here. They're kind of, I think they're a type of euonymus, but they're in there. I have 3 of those. One's behind the daylilies, but I put 4 of my Japanese maple seedlings back here, and I think they'll do well, because this is actually a nice sheltered corner behind the shed. So, and it gets some sun, not a lot of morning sun, but it does get afternoon sun. So I think this will be a big improvement back here. So by doing and I have a beautiful tree here with a birdhouse, which I moved over there this season. I think it's already had 1 family of birds raised in there. But this is a big improvement, and it kind of snowballed off of my bin clean out. When I had to empty all my compost and refresh those bins, it created an opportunity to get rid of my compost bin back there, and I have others around the yard, but I created something more beautiful. And I did put them on stepping stones, because after all, this was a wooded area, and I don't want any tree roots growing up into these pots. So obviously I'll have to work on getting a couple more pretty pots. Some of them are just in nursery containers, like the one in the back. But Aren't they pretty, guys? This one got really big this year. That's a beauty. And I just love growing Japanese maples from seedlings. Some of them are from my own yard, and the one in the back, for example, is from eBay. That's a coral bark Japanese maple. And of course I planted alyssum all around the bottom. They got a little messed up when I moved them, but this is all alyssum. So those will be sweet little purple and white flowers. And I'm just thrilled with this little garden. It's a big improvement over having a big compost bin there. Here's a view of my, I guess it's mostly my herb and kale garden from this angle. So it should be doing really well. In about a month I'll come back and show you how everything fared and what rooted in. But boy, was that a big job to empty all of these out. 10 in total, including the 2 gray ones in the back. And I'll just scan one more time over my rustic garden bed to show you how well things are doing there. Thank you so much for watching my garden tour this week. A lot's been going on, and not so fun chores, but I think it'll all pay off in the end. I hope you're having fun in your gardens. See you next time.